So today we're going to organize with Kaizen foam. So I've already cut the foam to measure, and there's a couple other things you're going to need. Long reach marker is always a good thing to have, and then something to cut with. I'm using a X-Acto knife, but anything with a really sharp razor edge, will do the job just fine. First thing we want to do is decide on which tools we're going to organize, and obviously I've decided to organize these wrenches, well, because they're a mess. But there are a couple of things you want to take into account when you're organizing these onto the sheet of foam. The old saying goes, measure twice, cut once. So that's sort of, the way that I look at it. But, you just don't want them to be too close to each other. And we're going to get started with our marker and sort of, just do an outline like you would anything else. And then you're going to cut that outline using whatever knife you've chosen to use. I did leave the wrenches in place after I drew the outline, and it just seemed a little bit easier to me, cutting around something solid instead of trying to cut around a outline. But you guys, do it any way you want and let me know how it works. So now we've got all the patterns for the wrenches cut. So we'll just, remove one of the wrenches, and you'll see a pretty good outline. And then you just start peeling from whichever side you prefer. And you just try to take a couple of the layers off at a time, and you'll just sort of end up with something like that. I got to say, this was actually probably the toughest part of this entire process, was just getting the right amount of foam out of the pattern, to make sure that the wrench sort of sat flush. But it wasn't too terrible. It just took a little bit of extra time to really get, used to pulling that foam up. This is the second tray that I've done. I did a screwdriver tray before this one that I'll show you guys at the end of the video. But yeah, picking that foam out of the patterns was definitely the hardest part, because it sort of comes off in these little chunks until you actually can find the, because it's in layers. So until you can, get used to what the layers feel like and find them and be able to peel them off, correctly, it's kind of difficult, and you'll sort of, mess it up probably the first couple of times you try, but still turns out pretty good. Like this one, looks flush, turned out pretty good. So this was actually the first drawer that I did. Mess it up in a couple of spots, but it turned out okay. For about $20, you get a 2x4 foot sheet of this stuff. I'll put the link in the description. I got it off Amazon, so pretty cheap, and it works really well. You guys give it a shot. Thanks for checking out the channel. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, I'm the Tool Detective. Thanks again.